helping the Black community achieve equality and justice is only going to make things easier for Asians to do the same, and vice versa, and the same for other oppressed groups, and the same for other minority groups. Like that is all of these things are interconnected.
Yes.
And I think one of the misses actually of even the progressive movement over the last, I would say, 10 years. And like shout out to that movement because they've really helped like educate a lot of us. But one of the misses has been over focusing on white versus everybody else. And the point is not to pit different groups against each other, but to understand that like everyone is capable, like different people from different groups are always capable of harming other people. We're all capable of doing harm, and we're all capable of loving each other. And there's beauty in that. And so I think we are just starting to get to the point now where people are talking more about intersectionality and cross minority, cross group dynamics and how these things are complicated. And that to me is very exciting because life is really complicated. I have some really, really close friends who are Black who have been subject to some really harmful acts of racism from Asians. I have I have friends who are Asian who have been subjected to really harsh forms of racism, acts of racism from Black people. I'm one of those people. Like I've also been subjected to racism from other Asians. Like it's not just white versus, it's literally not just Black and white, and it's not just all about like white versus everything else. And so I think the more we learn to become comfortable living in that kind of nuance and kind of the tricky stuff, the better off we're just going to be in a much better position to like actually start problem solving.
Absolutely. Together, collectively,
Mhm.
right? So how, in your opinion, how do we practice intersectional activism?
One is learning from each other. So I have to give like huge credit to the Black activist community and movements over the last 10 years for, frankly, teaching a lot of a lot of us a lot of things.
Sure.
And I've had my eyes open. When I first, I will be like really honest and say like when I first heard the phrase Black Lives Matter, I think it was in 2012 after Trayvon Martin was killed, I didn't get it. I understood what I understood that this was tragic and this was wrong, but I didn't understand. There was just so much that I didn't know. And I thought that I was like pretty well educated and stuff. And so that's what kind of going back to the point of like, we are all on a journey. We can all help each other on this journey. So learning from each other, there's just so many techniques and tactics and templates of how to put together movements through how to mobilize people through social media, how to put together a protest, how to talk about hard issues, how to deal with emotional trauma throughout all of this. There's been a lot of Asian Americans that I know that have been going through a lot emotionally, and part of it is the incidents of hate and seeing the news, and then the second wave of that is like everyone else reacting to it, and then now all of a sudden you're getting all these texts and messages that are really well-meaning but can sometimes be really like it's like a second wave of trauma that happens. And I'm yes, yes. I feel like if I'm preaching, I'm only preaching back because these are all things that I heard about from my Black friends last summer. And so when it started to happen to my Asian friends and myself over the last couple of months, it helped to know that this is something that other people have gone through and different techniques of coping with that, and gentle reminders to people who want to help and want to be allies of like things that are helpful, things that are maybe not so helpful.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, I think like learning from each other and taking templates from from work being done in different communities is really important. The second is also understanding where we're different. There are things that are actually unique and that can't be simply copied and pasted across groups. I'll give you one example, which is after the horrible shootings in Atlanta, one of the first things that a lot of us who were really affected by this wanted to do was to find out the names of the victims. Say their names has become a really powerful phrase that started within the Black Lives Matter movement and is spreading elsewhere. In some of these cases, though, the families or the victims actually didn't want the names to be so public because people mourn differently. There's different cultural dynamics, there's different family dynamics to that. And like that was just a very sobering moment when I saw some people actually, took down some posts because they had been asked politely by the families to not share the names so publicly, like that not everything can be copied and pasted. And that's totally okay because we are different. There are things that make us similar. There are things that make us different. So just kind of living in those similarities and differences are things that we can do. And then the third, and I think one of the best things that we can do has nothing to do with like activism per se, but it's just like being good to each other, like having fun together, doing a musical together, going, I don't know, playing video games together, watching movies, like talking about things that don't have to do with politics and race and hard issues, and just kind of living, like enjoying the beauty of life together with people who are of different backgrounds. That's the thing that's really going to connect us at the end of the day. Another thing that I got to give, a credit to my partner for always offering me a gentle reminder on is as hard as these things are, never let anyone take away your joy. And even if you're mourning, even if you're angry, even if you're taking action, don't feel guilty about wanting to be happy and doing things that make you happy and doing those things with other people. And so I think, just like being good to each other. It sounds so silly, but it's a really important thing too.
No, it seems so simple, but what I love about what you just said, as you know, Vanguard's goal, like just as a theater company, is kind of exactly what you said. We just like to bring people together from all these different backgrounds, from different cultures, and we have this we share this common love of theater. But then that doesn't mean that we don't get to know one another, that we don't learn from one
Mm-hmm.
another, that we don't break down walls that sometimes are uncomfortable. But we also have this joy of celebrating our differences. I love how you said things can't always be copied and pasted. I love that. That is so true, right? The whole goal is for us to learn about one another. And the moment you know more about someone, the less intimidated you are or fearful you are or whatever you're bringing into the room, right? So I love that you said that. So thanks for saying that.